last year. And in today's video, I'm just going to go through a few trends that we should keep ourselves aware of. Firstly, I'll be going over global trends in general, from surveys and findings that were gathered from last year, published this year. And then in the second part, I'll go over trends in New Zealand itself. This would give you that much more knowledge and that much more understanding in terms of where the real estate buyers and sellers are when it comes to the internet, and how you can effectively reach and engage with them. And that's really important because you've got to understand where online or where this whole digital space is heading this year. Now, firstly, I would like to give credit through to Hootsuite and VR Social. They're the ones who've produced this report, and I'm just going through it and sharing it with you all, so you understand where we're heading, and you can best use these insights to really ensure that your digital strategy this year pays back in dividends. Now, firstly, as I said, we'll go into the global overview part of this presentation. As you can see here, you've got a huge population currently using the internet, currently on social media, currently on having a smartphone. And out of those 5 billion, for example, you've got more than half of these who are currently using social media on their smartphones. And you've got the penetration levels here. So we've improved a lot, but there's still much more to go. Now, I won't be going into too much detail, but you can always pause on these slides where you feel necessary. The reason for that is I'm trying to keep this to below 10 minutes. So that's my goal. It's not a huge long-winded video, and you're able to consume this as soon as possible without too much of me talking, basically. As you can see, there's been growth, and this is annually. You've got growth in all areas, and the biggest growth is actually in people accessing social media on their phones, along with people who are starting to use social media as well. And this is just growth over 1 year, and that's a huge number. So let's move on to the next one. You can see that now in terms of Oceania, and this is basically this whole region here, including the Pacific Islands, we've got a relatively high internet penetration. Internet is just access to the internet, basically. But there's room to grow. However, in saying that, main reason this is lower is just because of a few other areas, a few other islands here that may not have as developed infrastructure as New Zealand, for example. Social media penetration. This is a slide for that. You can compare the different areas here. Mobile connectivity. We're all connected, basically, as you can see here. Now, this is something which is quite interesting. So right now, you've got active users of social media platforms. Facebook's number 1. YouTube is number 2, and this is really important to keep in mind. Video it's already a trend. It's not the next trend. It is trending, and you've got to make sure that you get yourself on video. Now, other key factors to note are messenger apps are almost as high as Facebook and YouTube. So you've got a lot of people on WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat, and so on. And this is where you've got to make sure that you understand that these are key areas that you can actually focus your marketing on, using messenger marketing, for example. Top messaging apps. So New Zealand primarily uses Facebook Messenger, and that's pretty much what I feel is the key thing to take from this. Now, in terms of this, there are a few basic guides in terms of what you need to focus on to really have an impact. So as you can see here, it says start with what people really want and not just what the technology can do. Focus on creating mutual value at every opportunity instead of simply selling. Provide value. And this is something that we stand by. Make it easy for people to buy online. This is more e-commerce. Harness digital tools to keep the conversation going even after you make a successful sale. And this is critical. You've got to make sure you have the right systems in place. You've got the right tools in place to help you make the whole journey for the customer or the client or even the lead as personalized as possible. Now, I would suggest you just pause this and you just have a read through this. I'm not going to go through this just because of time constraints. Now, this is where we're going into New Zealand. So in New Zealand, as you can see, the populations here, as of a study done early this year by the looks of things, we've got pretty much almost the whole population using the internet. And we've got 3/4 of them on social media. And this is where social media is really, really important. And you can't ignore the fact that you've got to market on social media, but you can't just simply put stuff out there. You've got to be tactical. You've got to make sure that you're not spamming. You've got to keep quality. You've got to engage. And at the same time, you've got a lot on social media from their mobile phones as well. And it has been growing. As you can see, over last year, over just over a year ago, we've got 300,000 more people on social media. Another 300,000 on social media on their phones. Another 140,000 people with smartphones. So these are things to keep in mind. Now, this is just population, and there's a few things not really too important for this. Device usage. And this is something, which is quite important, because you've got to be aware of where people are and how you can reach them. So, for example, you've got a website, you've got to make sure that it is mobile friendly, because you've got a huge proportion using their phones, and so on. Now, time spent. A lot of us spend a lot of time on social media, and this is something that you can utilize. Looking for real estate leads, for example, you can utilize the fact that people are spending more time on social media than reading newspapers, or, for example, browsing Trade Me. And I'm not saying you try to sell every single home on social media. Trade Me is always important, and yes, you can use social media for that. That's absolutely the case. But what I'm saying is to grow your brand, to grow your presence, to generate leads. This is where you can really utilize social media to its maximum potential. On average, people are spending 2 hours a day on social media. And Facebook and YouTube take a huge chunk of this. So that's something to keep in mind. Attitudes towards digital. This is something that you just need to be aware of. So please pause this if you need to go through this. I'm just going to rush through just because of time. Internet use, number of active internet users, and so on. You can straight away see that number is huge, and it keeps growing. And it is something that you've got to acknowledge that, look, in addition to physical print, the online space is an amazing place to market, but also advertise. Alright, okay, so these are just a number of people these are where the stats are collected from in terms of the number of internet users in New Zealand, but that's a huge number. It's pretty much almost our whole population connected online. Now, frequency of internet use, pretty much everyone's accessing the internet once a day. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, people are always connected. In terms of speed, well, the thing is, you've got to, the key thing to take from here is, while people have high speeds, New Zealand is a remote country, and there are a lot of areas where the speeds are not as fast as in the urban areas. You've got a huge population in rural New Zealand as well. So this is where you really need to keep in mind that whatever things you create, they're optimized for speed. For example, your website, you would need to make sure that it loads quick, doesn't take a whole lot of time to load. And there are a lot of processes that you can do, or your developer can do, to make sure that's the case. And here's where you can see that there's still the majority who are on desktops, but it has reduced. Mobile is increasing. So I would say these are two key stats to keep in mind. Now, in terms of the top websites this year so far, Google has been number one. A lot of people Google. YouTube is number two. And this is where YouTube is critical. When it comes to marketing yourself on video, you've got to get out of that whole, I don't want to put myself on camera and stuff. And you've got to get yourself on YouTube, whether it's you, whether it's your properties. You've got to get your brand out there to have that human touch to yourself. So people can straight away get that vibe from you, and they're more likely to trust and believe in you as well. And at the same time, it gets you out of your comfort box. Your comfort box. It gets you out of that, and you're always growing as well. So my suggestion is just keep practicing, and you will get better. Facebook is massive. Facebook's even higher than the other news on websites here. So you've got a huge amount of people on Facebook. And this is just another system that tracks this, but you can see the results are pretty much the same. Now, okay, in terms of weekly activities, you can see that these two are, as you imagine, are the highest. And videos don't really need to just be on YouTube. They could be on Facebook. Facebook's pretty much 80-90% video right now. Almost every other post you see is video, and this is where you need to take advantage of that, because you can transmit a whole lot more information on video than you can in an image or in text. For example, a text is I'm not too sure, I've forgotten the saying, but it's 1,000 words, I think. I mean, a picture is 1,000 words, but a video is more like 1,000,000 words. So you've got audio, you've got video, you've got captions as well. So basically, you would be able to effectively target people. How would I say it? So people who getting a bit of word vomiting here. Anyway, so people who some people are visual, some people are more audio focused, so they're more likely to absorb information in audio format or in visual format. So this is where videos can play a huge part, and you can target and you can effectively attract all of these different types of people. Search queries, now this is not really too much of importance, but I've just thrown it in here just because you may be a bit interesting, but a lot of people are searching for Facebook. Now, frequency of watching online, you can see people watch, a lot of people, more than almost three-fourths of them of the New Zealand population watch videos every day. Television, it is higher, however it is declining. As you've seen recently, Sky NZ, is in trouble. Viewership rates have gone down. People are dropping the subscription plans. They've dropped it, but it still doesn't seem to be working because most people are absorbing content online. And then social media use, as you can see, these are key stats to see here. Total number of active social media users, 3.5 million. Then active social users here, and so on. Anyways, I'm not going to go too much into this just because we've run out of time. And then, just like the others, we've got, similar to the global rankings, Facebook and YouTube are number one, followed by Facebook Messenger. So these are key areas for you to reach your intended audience. User stats, I would let you go through this on your own time, and you can always, in our blog post, once it's up, you'll be able to go through these as well. This is just the demographics. This is something which is quite important, but this demographic range, 45 to 65 plus, is rapidly increasing. Alright, so anyways, apart from that, I'm not going to go into too much more detail. I would say have a look at our blog when it's up, and you'll be able to see some more here.